everybody, welcome back to String and Story. My name is Holly Ann Knight and it's my job to guide you to quilt and to live with confidence. Today I wanted to give you a quick tour of the Juki J-150 industrial sewing machine. This is a machine that's been sponsored by sewingmachine.com and I'm really excited to be working with them in order to have the opportunity to know this machine well enough to share it with you. And guys, really and truly, I have nothing but awesome stuff to say. I'm so excited about this machine. Let me give you a quick tour and then I'll show you this machine in action, all right? Now, first of all, this is an industrial machine, which means it's a straight stitch only machine. It does two things really well. It pieces and it quilts, right? Now, if you sew garments and use a straight stitch for that, it does that really well too, right? But when I think of straight stitching for me, that means piecing and quilting. And this machine's a great fit for me because it does the same things I do, right? And I love that about it. Now, it's built very much like traditional mechanical industrial machines, but you have the added bonus of this beautiful computer component. And what I love about this is that I can toggle back and forth between piecing, which is what I've been doing right now, and free motion quilting. With the touch of a button, you'll see my presser foot raised up because I would have a ruler foot on there. Oh, I'm gonna grab it and show it to you, but it's hiding. There we go. I would have a ruler foot on there if I was free motion quilting. And I would want my speed and my tension and whatnot to be different. And what's really gorgeous about this is it makes it seamless to switch back and forth between piecing and quilting, quilting and binding, whatever, all on the same machine, and it eliminates that tension fiddle factor, which I think is one of the most frustrating things about free motion quilting, right, is making sure that our tension is correct. What I've loved about this machine is because I use the same thread almost all the time when I free motion quilt, it allows me to keep that tension super consistent. So once I got it set, I really haven't had to mess with it since. And that's really nice. And if I do have to adjust it, it's going to be minimal and it's not going to affect my piecing settings, right? And that's the big thing, is having to switch back and forth. And that can be really frustrating if you're quilting on something, you're like, I have like 15 minutes and I just want to piece a few blocks, right? And having to readjust everything on your machine. Here on the J150, it's the touch of a button to switch back and forth. Change your presser foot and you're off to the races, okay? Now you can hear there is a fan in this machine. That's because this machine can go 2,500 stitches per minute. It is a powerhouse. So there's a little fan in there keeping the motor cool at all times. This machine requires minimal maintenance. That's something that I really love about it. There's an oil reservoir over here. You want to keep that full. The bobbin is up under the table, so right under here. But I actually reach under the table and open a little door in order to change out the bobbin. And when I do that, I make sure that I brush any lint out. And that's going to keep this machine in gorgeous working order. It is straight stitch only. You have two buttons here that you can change out. I have a needle up, needle down button, and my presser foot adjustment, just so I have those handy. I also can adjust or raise and lower the presser foot with the foot pedal, and the thread cutter is in the foot pedal as well. Now, I mentioned this machine goes at 2,500 stitches per minute, so maybe I should show that off for you guys so you get an idea of how fast that is. I'm going to start out a little bit slower so that you get an idea of how the machine sounds when it's not running flat out, and then I'll speed all the way up, all right? And again, my thread cutter there at the end. My poor little practice sandwich finally pleated on me, but you can see maybe, just barely, these top little stitches, small, beautiful, gorgeous, even stitches. The stitch definition on this machine is absolutely incredible. It does not have a stitch regulator for free motion quilting, but guys, I really have not found that to be a problem. The stitches I've been getting are gorgeous and even. Let me see if I have, I quilted this quilt on several different machines, so let me make sure I'm showing you a good example. You can see a little bit here, some of those stitches. And this, again, I mentioned that I have my speed adjusted in my free motion mode. I spent a little bit of time and figured out, okay, if I like to basically quilt with my pedal to the floor, what speed do I naturally move my hands at? And I adjusted that, and therefore my foot, my needle and my hands are in sync. So even without a stitch regulator, I'm able to get gorgeous even stitches when free motion quilting on this machine. Now, I've told you a lot of pros, and you're going, okay, Holly Ann, but you said you were going to shoot straights. Like, what are the cons? There are some cons to this machine, right? It's big. It's in this table. The table and the machine are connected. They come together. So it's not portable. If you travel a lot with your quilting, you go to a lot of retreats, you go to a lot of classes, you will not be taking this machine, right? So you'll need a secondary machine if you fall in love with this. but also want to continue being able to quilt on the go. If you read the blog review that I'm sharing along with this video, you'll see I have a couple of recommendations for other Juki machines that you might really love, or that might even be a better fit for you, that have similar features and excellence to this machine, but aren't quite so big, right? That's the biggest thing. Another pro that I did not mention is this throat space is 12 inches. That's huge. You can only do the limbo under that, guys. Like, it's enormous, right? But that part of that means big bulky machine. Now it's very stable, which is good. The leaf can fold up or fold down. I'm trying to think any other major cons you should know. I did find that the manual is not as useful as it could be, right? Which, you know, that doesn't affect the machine itself, but did create a little bit more of a learning curve for me. For example, you'll see this on the blog, figuring out how to set my needle so it ends down. That took a little bit of doing, right? Because I couldn't figure it out from the manual. I did figure it out. It is in there. It's fine. But I want you guys to know that there's going to be a little bit of a fiddling learning curve with the computerization. But while I was hesitant about it at first, I've ended up really, really loving it. So the size of this machine is its biggest drawback. If you're like me and you do a lot of sewing in your own sewing room, this could be a gorgeous, gorgeous option for you. Also, as I mentioned, it is a straight stitch only machine. So if you do a lot of zigzag or blanket stitch, if you do that day to day, you might be interested in a different machine that makes that a little bit easier. If you're like me and you do that very rarely, you likely already have a machine that has those stitches on it, and I would recommend just having a secondary machine for when you need that. Those are not features that I use often enough to make them a primary buying need for a machine for me, right? Like, that's just not high on my priority list because I use them so rarely. I just want to make sure that that kind of registers with you and that you keep that in mind as you're making a decision about this machine. All in all, I love it. I'm kind of obsessed, actually, with this machine, and I hope that you have an opportunity to try one out at a show near you. And if not, give sewingmachine.com a call. They would be delighted to help you. I do know that they can ship this machine, and they'd be delighted to work with you. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm in love with my Juki J-150, and if you haven't had a chance to try out the Juki machines yet, I highly, highly recommend them. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.